Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Here is the 10-second reality check. Europe just admitted it didn't lose the global economy to China, it lost to its own paperwork. The console wars are officially over with a white flag from Xbox. And in a twist that sounds like sci-fi but is actually hard science, it turns out your life really does flash before your eyes when you die. Welcome back to the Friday Deep Dive. We have a stack of stories today that, when you line them up, paint a very specific and honestly, a slightly unnerving picture of where the world is heading in 2026.
Unnerving is the right word. It's a picture I'm not sure I want to hang on my living room wall.
It feels like the tectonic plates of culture and business are shifting under our feet today.
I mean, looking at the feed today, it really proves one thing. Nostalgia is the only growth market left. We are so terrified of the future that we're literally building shrines to 2003 in our houses.
It certainly feels like we're looking in the rearview mirror. But before we get to that, we have to talk about the lead story. It is a massive admission of guilt coming out of the World Economic Forum. You saw this viral post from @Marianoffel regarding German Chancellor Friedrich Merz?
I did. And frankly, it's the most refreshing thing a European politician has said in a decade.
Refreshing how?
Usually these forums are just buzzwords and canapes. But this was a direct hit.
Let's break it down, because this isn't standard political posturing. Merz stood up at the WF and said plainly that Europe didn't lose its competitive edge to China or America. He said it lost to forms and permits.
Blaming the bureaucracy. Bureaucracy.
Exactly. He's promising a massive deregulation agenda, coining the phrase security over perfectionism.
Security over perfectionism.
Right.
That is a hell of a slogan for a bureaucrat. But we need to unpack what that actually means, because it's a total reversal of European policy.
How so?
For the last 20 years, Germany and the EU have operated on what we call the precautionary principle. Basically, if there's a 1% chance something might go wrong, you regulate it to death before it even exists.
Right, the idea that you have to prove safety before you can even attempt to innovate, it's a defensive crouch.
Exactly. And Merz is admitting that this mindset has paralyzed them. He's targeting a 25% reduction in bureaucracy by 2029.
A 25% reduction.
He's acknowledging that while Europe was busy filling out forms to build a factory, China built 10 factories. You just can't compete in a digital age with an analog mindset.
That's the target. But looking at the replies to the post, people are, let's say, skeptical.
Skeptical is putting it mildly. The internet is roasting him.
Why?
You can't just wave a wand and delete 30 years of red tape. The critique here, and it's a valid one, is the timing. This aligns perfectly with his post-2025 election agenda. It's easy to promise this stuff when you're trying to revive an economy that's flatlining.
So it's just talk?
Well, remember, Merz has alliances with left-leaning parties. These are the same political machines that built the forms and permits in the first place.
That's the catch-22, isn't it? Can the architect of the maze really be the one to tear it down?
That's the billion-euro question.
Yeah.
But the so what here, for our listeners, is even bigger than German politics. This is a signal that the West is finally waking up to the fact that the enemy isn't always foreign competition.
It's internal.
It's the internal refusal to build things. It's the permit process that takes 5 years for a factory that takes 6 months to build. It's a self-inflicted wound.
We tied our own shoelaces together and then complained that we couldn't run the marathon.
We did. And if Europe doesn't actually follow through on this, if this is just we talk, then they aren't just losing to China, they're exiting the game entirely.
Speaking of exiting the game, or at least changing the rules entirely, let's pivot to a market shift that feels like the end of an era in tech and entertainment. We have massive news involving at PlayStation, at Jake Sucky, and the @Fable account.
This is the one that really hurts the fanboys. This is the end of the religious war in gaming.
It really feels like it. Fable, the flagship franchise that defined the Xbox identity for a generation, is officially launching on PlayStation 5 in autumn 2026.
And the game itself isn't the story, is it?
Not at all. The story is what this means.
It means surrender. This is Microsoft admitting defeat on hardware. For 20 years, we had the console wars. Xbox versus PlayStation. That war is over. Xbox lost.
You think it's that cut and dried? Because usually these companies spin this as expanding the ecosystem or reaching more players.
Oh, they can spin it however they want, but look at the incentives. We have context here citing Newzoo data from way back in 2023 showing that 65% of gamers play on multiple systems.
So exclusivity doesn't sell consoles anymore.
No. Exclusivity is now just a limit on your revenue. I mean, it costs hundreds of millions to make a game like Fable. You can't make that money back just selling to the Xbox install base anymore. Shareholders don't care about console pride. They care about selling copies.
But the reaction from the community is brutal. You saw that reply from @NiceWithIt1.
Yes, sarcastically thanking Phil Spencer. That's the voice of the betrayed loyalist.
People who bought an Xbox specifically for these games.
Exactly. They feel like they backed to the wrong horse.
Yeah.
But here's the second-order effect. The content war won. Microsoft is pivoting to be a publisher, not just a box maker. They want to be the Netflix of gaming, not the DVD player manufacturer.
That's a great analogy. Netflix doesn't care if you watch on an iPad or a Samsung TV as long as you subscribe.
Precisely. They want the subscription revenue, they want the software sales. The hardware is just a loss leader that they're tired of subsidizing.
But there's also a cultural angle here we can't ignore. The @Fable post context mentions a significant backlash regarding woke slop and character design.
Right, this keeps coming up. The complaints about the main character not looking feminine enough, or the writing being too modern.
It seems like you can't launch a product anymore without stepping on a cultural landmine.
It's become a standard part of the cycle. Sadly, that is now priced into every major product launch. It doesn't matter what you release. There is a segment of the internet ready to tear it apart for being too inclusive or not inclusive enough.
So it's just noise.
It's noise, largely. But it does show that gaming is no longer just a hobby. It's a battleground for every cultural anxiety we have.
Which leads us perfectly into the battle for truth itself. If gaming is a battleground, social media is the war room. We're seeing a fascinating pivot in the platform wars. I'm looking at posts from @xfreeze regarding Grokopedia and @Spoodadoge about S-communities.
The battle for the narrative. This is where it gets technical, but very important.
So let's clarify what Grokopedia is. It's X's answer to Wikipedia, but they are adding a suggest article feature. They are moving away from just AI cloning and asking users to crowdsource the encyclopedia.
At the same time, X communities are reporting 30% higher retention than the main feed.
And those two things are connected.
Intimately connected. We are seeing the fragmentation of the internet. For years, we had the town square model, everyone in one big feed shouting at each other. That model is failing.
It's too noisy. Too toxic.
Exactly. So people are retreating to walled gardens, these X communities.
It feels safer there. You're with your tribe. You don't have to see the opinions you hate.
Right. But let's look at Grokopedia. The claim is that it's less biased than Wikipedia. People are tired of Wikipedia's editorial gatekeeping. But does crowdsourcing truth on a platform as polarized as X actually create unbiased information?
Or does it just create information that is biased in a different direction?
That's the risk. If you have a community that leans heavily one way, their version of the truth becomes the dominant article. It's mob rule applied to facts.
The wikification of the culture war. Instead of arguing in tweets, we're going to argue in encyclopedia edits.
And it connects me back to that retention stat. People stay in communities because they don't want to be challenged. They want to be validated. The global feed is for fighting. The community is for vibing. And right now, people would rather vibe than fight. They're exhausted.
Speaking of vibing, let's talk about where people are going mentally when they opt out of the fight. You mentioned earlier that nostalgia is the only growth market. We have a cluster of stories here that I'm calling the retropia economy.
Retropia.
Yeah.
I like that. It sounds like a place I'd like to visit.
We've got @Scout997 showing off a viral Japanese gaming room with consoles built into the walls. We've got @SynthPotato leaking 2013 footage of what Cyberpunk 2077 could have been. And then this fascinating meme from @TemplarPilled contrasting modern Western media with anime.
This is my favorite segment of the day because it reveals so much about our collective psyche. Let's start with that gaming room. It's beautiful, right?
It looks amazing. Very sleek, very clean. All the consoles embedded in the architecture.
But look closer. It's also a tomb. It's a mausoleum for a simpler time. The data shows retro gaming sales were up 25% year over year in 2025. Why? Because the future is scary.
We have recessions, bureaucracy, AI.
So we retreat to 1998. We retreat to a time when we knew the rules of the game.
That connects to the Cyberpunk footage, doesn't it? People are obsessing over a version of the game from 2013 that never happened, a third-person version.
It's the allure of the lost timeline. We are so unhappy with the present that we aren't just nostalgic for the past. We're nostalgic for a potential past that never existed. We look at that footage and say, oh, if only they had made that game, everything would be better.
It's a rejection of reality. And that leads to the @TemplarPilled post. This one is dense. It contrasts shows like Bridgerton on Netflix with Japanese anime like Vinland Saga or Emma.
This is a weird cultural feedback loop we need to unpack. You have Westerners looking at Japanese cartoons to find a traditional version of the West that the West refuses to produce anymore.
It is ironic. You have to go to Tokyo to get a story about Victorian England that feels traditional.
It's deeply ironic.
Yeah.
The argument in the Post is that Western media has deconstructed its own history and myth so much that it doesn't feel real or heroic to the audience anymore. They feel preached to.
So they turn to Japan, a culture that loves romanticizing European history, to get that fix.
And they get their chivalry and nobility.
Yeah.
It shows a massive disconnect between Western content creators and a large chunk of their audience. The audience wants myths. The creators want deconstruction. So the audience leaves.
Well, if we're talking about leaving reality, we have to talk about the ultimate exit strategy. This story from @Berkey1 is blowing my mind. The secret mall apartment.
This is the ultimate cyberpunk story, but in real life, it's almost hard to believe it happened.
For those who missed it, 8 artists lived inside the Providence Place Mall for 4 years, from 2003 to 2007. They built a secret apartment in a utility void.
A dead space in the building's design.
Yeah.
And they didn't get caught for 4 years.
Incredible. And it wasn't just a prank. The context says Providence median home prices jumped 25% during that time. This was peak gentrification.
So it was a protest. They just moved into the mall.
How did they even survive?
They were crafty. They tapped into the mall's electricity to run a PlayStation. They used the mall bathrooms. They lived in the walls of capitalism because they couldn't afford to live in the city.
It's parasitic, but in a way that feels like resistance.
It is, but it also reminds me of the Retropia theme. You could get away with that in 2003. I feel like today, with AI surveillance and heat sensors, you'd last about 4 hours.
Oh, absolutely. You'd be caught by a drone before you unpacked your sleep bag.
That's why people are nostalgic for this story. It represents a time when the system had cracks you could slip into. Now the system is airtight, fully optimized, and there's no room for human error or human creativity inside the machine anymore.
We miss the flaws in the system because the flaws gave us freedom.
We miss the cracks. We miss the possibility of being unseen.
Well, let's move from the cracks in the mall to the final frontier. We have a heavy hitter from @KKioSoj about the science of death. And surprisingly, it connects to everything we've talked about regarding memory.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
And a bit spooky.
So scientists captured EEG readings of an 87-year-old patient who died while hooked up to the machine. And the readings suggest that the brain replays memories, specifically gamma oscillations, for 30 seconds after the heart stops.
30 seconds? That's a long time in brain time.
It is. Can we explain gamma oscillations for a second? What does that actually mean?
Sure. Gamma waves are the brain waves associated with high-level cognitive functioning focus, memory retrieval. It's the brain working hard. So the fact that these specific waves spike after clinical death suggests the brain isn't just shutting down, it's actively processing something.
It's just that the life flashing before your eyes trope isn't just a movie cliche, it's a biological mechanism.
It is, but I want to connect this to the post from @SawyerMerritt, where he quotes Elon Musk from the WEF.
The quote about optimism.
Yes. Musk said, "It's better to be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right." Now, apply that to the 30-second replay.
Okay, let's unpack that connection, because one is biology and the other is mindset.
Think about it. If you know that at the end of the line, you're going to have to sit in a private theater and watch the best of compilation of your life, shouldn't you be focusing on creating good footage?
That's a great way to put it. You're the director of your own final cut.
Exactly. If you spend your whole life being cynical and scared, hiding in the past, like we talked about, your replay is going to be a horror movie or a boring drama. But if you're optimistic, if you build things, if you take risks, even if you fail, at least the movie is interesting.
So Musk is right, but for a neurological reason, optimism creates better memories.
It's a rare moment where hard science and Musk's philosophy actually shake hands. We are biologically wired to review our lives. So making a movie worth watching, don't bore yourself in the final 30 seconds.
That is surprisingly profound for a Friday. It makes you think about what you're doing this weekend differently. Are you generating content for the replay?
I try my best. Hopefully this show makes the cut.
So what does this all mean for tomorrow? We've got Europe deleting paperwork, Xbox becoming a software company, and our brains recording it all for the finale. What is your prediction?
I'm looking at the Fable news, and I'm looking at the retro boom. My prediction is simple. We're going to see a major acquisition of a Japanese legacy studio by a Western tech giant within the next quarter. I'm thinking Capcom or Konami.
Really? You think Microsoft or maybe Amazon pulls the trigger?
Think about it. If they need content to survive, and if the audience is craving nostalgia that the WUFD isn't producing, buying a Japanese vault is the smartest play on the board. They own the IP that people actually like. Resident Evil, Street Fighter, Metal Gear.
It's the perfect hedge against the woke backlash and the content drought, a hostile takeover of our childhoods. I can see it happening.
It's just business.
Mm.
But it would change the landscape forever.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
Keep your signal strong. See you Monday.